welcome back, everybody, to Group Chat. Thank you, everyone who listened to the last episode, shared it, posted it. You know, it really was about sharing the conversation we had with Omar with as many people as possible, because I think it's the conversation that we all need to have with our friends, our family, because that's really where it starts. You know, we saw a lot of politicians, specifically President Obama, come out and say how it starts at the local level, in the city level, really. And before that, it starts in your own home. And if you can't address what's happening in your own home, in your own friend circle, you can't even get to the part, in my opinion, of the city officials.
Yeah, I think for me, that was definitely the most engaged episode we've had in terms of people reaching out, both from friends, listeners, people in DMs. And I actually was talking to Omar after the episode, like, why we think that is, right? Obviously, we thought it was a very honest and open conversation about race. And the conclusion I came to was that people aren't having the conversation, first and foremost. So to actually hear 5 people from different backgrounds and ethnicities to actually talk about race in an open way, an honest way, rather than sugarcoating things, or the way cable news presents it. Cable news is extremist, right? Yeah. It's either the city's burning down or everyone's dying from corona, or the city being overrun. Like, there's no real dialogue. Yeah. And I thought we did a good job of actually talking about the nuances of racism. Yeah. Racism is just not calling someone the N-word. Yeah. Or, running across the street. It's like institutionalizing the way people think. Yeah. And they don't even know they're being racist. And passive racism is worse than just openly, blatantly being discriminatory.
Yeah. And I honestly, the thing that I think people have to be okay with is that, like, no one forced you to have the conversation until today. So a lot of people reached out to me. I was like, beforehand, like, what do you do? And yes, you can donate money. Yes, you can protest. But it really starts with, like, it's a hand-to-hand combat situation where, like, you just have to have the conversations. And, like, I was talking to my wife about it a lot the last couple of days on, she's a blonde white woman from Huntington Beach. Yep. Okay. And you see what's going on at Huntington Beach. And so she knows how she grew up, or how people around her grew up. They weren't exposed to any cultures or religion or anything. Right. Like, she said she didn't even meet her first Jewish person until she got to college. But, she had, like, Indian friends in high school. And so that was different. And so it's interesting to hear how she's handling it, because I think she's kind of the demographic that's probably going to have the hardest time with this. From, like, obviously Black people are having it the hardest time, but I'm saying, like, from, like, how do you
just grasping the gravity of the situation?
Yeah, but not even, she obviously understands the gravity of it. It's more of, like, what do I do and how do I do it? And I think I came downstairs and I heard her listening to the podcast, and she took from that she's like, I need to have conversations with some people. And, she went and had a conversation with some of her friends and kind of laid out her feelings and thoughts about the situation.
How was it received?
I didn't. Honestly, it happened right when I was leaving today. So I don't know. But I think she felt like the conversation about what's going on wasn't heading in the right direction. So she wanted to feel comfortable enough to say, hey, this is what we really need to be thinking about. And actually, one of her friends came back and said, hey, I agree. And I think, I have this whole new perspective, because she so happens to be married to an extremely liberal person. So she said, he opened my eyes to the way the world really is. And I grew up in a different bubble. And I think that is that's the honest conversation you have to first have with yourself, and be like, damn, maybe my parents are racist. Like, that is a hard reality that a lot of people are finding out right now. Yeah. And they don't know that. Does that mean how you grew up is incorrect? Does that mean how you... No, there are some things all of our childhoods, there are some great things about our childhood and there's some bad things. And everyone has that experience. And you have to be able to decipher as an adult now, what are the things that you were taught that were great and what are the things that need to evolve in the way you think. Because I think that's very tough for white people to have that conversation internally with themselves because it may discount the way you were raised.
And, I don't even know if this is politically correct to say, but I'm just going to just go ahead and say it. So let's just think about my 2 career paths, right? So we went to high school in a suburb, obviously got exposed to different cultures, different races, lots, everything.
Yeah.
Then went to SC. That starts narrowing, right? Yeah. It's majority white and, it's just not as much diversity as we grew up with. And then I went to finance. That narrowed even further. Yeah. Right? So the number of people that were black, frankly, just weren't that high in investment banking. Yeah. And had I continued that path and went investment banking, then private equity, then a hedge fund, then a Harvard Business School, whatever, one of these business schools, my exposure over the last 20 years would have been a fraction of what happened now that I joined when I was 24, 5'4", and different industry, and an industry just frankly has more diversity. Yeah. And that's really, I think, the issue with people of like our peers. They just aren't exposed to black people. Yeah. If unless you're in an industry where there is a concentration of diversity and black people in different races, like you go down finance, you go down being an attorney, or like any of these like white collar jobs, it narrows. Yeah. And that's obviously an institutional problem in our society that it does narrow. Yeah. And that's why I think the conversation we had resonated with so many people because they've never had it. Yeah. And that's why and it's not their fault.
Yeah, I agree. And I that's why I'm very anti full, look, if someone says something crazy, I'm going to be all over them, right? Yeah. But if they don't, they've just never been educated on the topic. And I think that's something that we as people that are more informed, we have the obligation to inform them, because then I think they'll have empathy. Because when you know somebody and they're your friend, you have empathy.
And then you hear their experiences and you're like, oh shit, I don't have to deal with that.
Exactly. And so I think it's pretty interesting to see how people are reacting to it. I'll tell you the biggest thing I'm taking away. I think we actually are heading in the right direction. I think the overwhelming majority of people believe there needs to be change in this country. I think there are people that are fighting the change, but I think they kind of look and be like, this guy should not have been killed. Yep. Right. And even the people that are maybe blatantly are racist know that there's something went wrong here. And so now it really becomes like what to do next. And one of the things I wanted to just kind of dive in is corporate responsibility. So I'll be honest on what our company is doing. We've taken the approach of not saying anything at the moment. And the reason being is, one, I feel like I'm saying enough for everybody. I'm being pretty vocal about how I feel about this situation. We have this platform. It's the podcast. This is our way to share our feelings, our opinions. But I think for companies, it's very, very troubling right now how to handle this situation. And I see a lot of statements being put out that we stand, we support. The problem is if you don't back it up, it's an empty statement. It's an empty promise to the community. And I think a lot of people are struggling that from a corporate responsibility standpoint. So before I go out there and make a statement on behalf of the company, we are an extremely diverse company. Women, minority, we have I actually asked to pull the statistics just to see it because I want to share it with people, what diversity in a company looks like. And I'm blown away at how good of a job we've done in that category. And now it's social responsibility has become something that was en vogue in your mission when starting a business the last couple of years. But now it's like, what are you actually fucking doing? And that's where I think some of the good things that are going to happen is that, like, we as a company, you know, we treat people fairly. We go out there and we have a diverse workforce. We do good for, you know, we do donate money to certain places. We donate clothes, but like, is it a part of our mission statement as a company? And I think it hasn't been in the past, but it has to be going forward. And I think that's going to be ingrained in all companies. And that's where it's interesting, like seeing companies make statements and then people rip them apart and be like, where the fuck were you the last 25 years?
Right.
And I get it. That's fair. That's like a fair question to ask of a company that you support. I think it's tough. You know, like the word you're going to hear a lot, or the phrase you're going to hear a lot, is tone deaf. And I'm gonna do a podcast more digging deeper into it. But the idea of being tone deaf is like read the room, understand what's going on in society today. And sure, you can post on social media, you can tweet something out, but like you gotta have action to back it up. You know, I had a long conversation with someone today that has a business and is doing extremely well. And he was like, what do you think we should do? And he has gone through police struggle as a minority his entire life, unfairly arrested. He's been, you know, beat up by cops. And he was like, I don't feel like it's right just to make a statement. I have to lead by action. He's like, they donate a portion of all sales to social justice causes. And I'm like, you're doing it. You don't need to, are you looking for a pat on the back, or do you want to just do it? Like, that's how has been my feeling about social responsibility, corporate social responsibility. We know we're important to our community. We just have to do it. There's so many things we do that we'll never discuss. And that's fine. Like, I don't need a pat on the back. It just needs to be ingrained that we care about our community. And I think I see like a company like Nike or Patagonia or Ben & Jerry's, these are social activism brands. It's very, very different. Like, they know how to speak to the community and they've ingrained it into their business. So I'm curious to see like how this plays out, because I think a lot of people want to get involved, but I think you should be careful and thoughtful on how you get involved.
Yeah, and the scary part we have going on in this country is there's a lot of fires to put out.
Yeah.
So before, it took George Floyd finally that this became top of mind for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
So obviously racial inequality, police brutality, which has existed for forever. We've been talking about wealth inequality since the beginning of this podcast. So it just shows there's like, you know, the saying, only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of problems that need to be solved, right? We have an entire portion of the country that was completely left behind during the most uninterrupted economic growth that probably we've ever seen.
Yeah.
We have increased racial tension. The protests are intensifying across the country. I don't know. It's just, I know that those are just facts. I'm not giving any solutions, but where does it start from? Just like an overarching, like, where obviously corporate responsibility. So now corporate responsibility, we only talked about was wealth inequality. You made all this money, billions of dollars, you have trillions sitting offshore, bring it back, help build infrastructure, help do something.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about racial inequality. Yeah. So I don't know, it's an uphill battle on all these different issues, and I just fear it becomes flavor of the month. So last month no one would have talked about this. Yeah. We would have just talked about wealth inequality and how are all these unemployed people going to be taken care of. Yeah. Now it's racial. So like, are people going to be focused and actually, like, how do we divide and conquer?
Well, I think there's certain companies that are going to be better at certain things. And you have to pick your battle as a company. You have to pick your battles as a human being. Yes, it'd be nice if I could give everyone money, treat everyone fairly, it's not realistic. We have to, as I think human beings, needs to focus on empathy and caring for their fellow person. I think companies need to figure out how to redistribute the fucking wealth in this country. Like that needs to be their main focus. And I think how they fix internally in terms of diversity, you just have to expose it, right? Like companies need to come out and you got to show us you're publicly traded. Show us the diversity in your company.
Yeah.
And, maybe you don't get loans and maybe you don't get certain things because you don't have the diversity in your company. You can be diverse. There is plenty of diverse top talent in this country. You just have to force it down people's throat so that it becomes normal. That you see a black partner at Goldman Sachs and you see a Mexican VP at Citigroup. You just have to force it down people's throats so people see it. And then it becomes a part of life.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really tough, challenging thing that I think companies really need to get down and dirty. And like, we're going to need new leaders because I don't think the old leaders of these companies have this in their blood. It's like these 20, 30 something year old CEOs are the ones that are going to infect change. The old guard ain't going to do shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect at least, we see the protests. It's young people.
Yeah.
Right? It's not 50-year-olds.
No.
It's, kids in their 20s and 30s that are the ones driving this message and actually searching for change.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty diverse crowd. I don't care what anyone says. You look anywhere, it's diverse.
It's diverse, yeah.
And which is hopeful.
Yeah.
And which, to your point, it's going to take, Evan Spiegel wrote a memo. He's, 28 years old, 27?
Yeah.
It's going to take...
Yeah, he has the power because we know Zuckerberg's out to lunch. So
he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He's not going to do anything. So it's really going to be this next generation of leaders that can affect change in the business community. Because I do think the powers of be have to change if the world is going to change, especially the business community. On the individual level, the protest, let's kind of get into the protest. So there's protests happening all over the country. I live in Hollywood, and the reason why Drama is not here today because he lives in the heart of the protest today, and he can't literally leave his house. So
his apartment building got boarded up.
Boarded up, yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah,
that's what we were criticizing China for doing because of the
pandemic.
Yeah. They were boarding up apartment buildings, not letting people who are potentially infected out. We're doing that now.
Yes, and so. Protests are happening all over the country. We're seeing it. It really started in your big cities, but now it's everywhere.
Yep.
Like in California, like a suburb like Riverside. Like Louisville has some of the most active protests I've seen. It's crazy. Someone in Louisville got shot and killed, like a restaurant eater owner. I don't know if it's during the protest, but...
No, it was this past week, yeah.
Yeah, and then... in Nebraska, a black protester got shot, and the police literally just said, "Oh, it was self-defense."
And they turned off the body cams in Louisville.
Yeah,
in Louisville,
they reported that 0 body cams were recording.
And so, we're protesting something while we're protesting the exact thing we're protesting. It's happening worse.
Let's talk about the body cam issue. So the police chief got fired. The governor fired him, or whatever the line of he's canned.
Yeah.
And then when I read about it, apparently whatever crime unit these officers were, technically didn't have to have their body cams on.
Wow.
So the right thing is, yes, fire them. Why is the body cam off when you're shooting and killing a civilian? We need to know, why would there ever be body cams and you're not required to have them on?
Yeah.
What crime unit...
Undercover?
Yeah, I mean, seriously. Undercover going after a guy who owns a barbecue joint?
Yeah.
Right.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, so, Louisville, the fire chief just got fired. A month ago, Breonna Taylor. So this is a woman's name I'm sure everyone's been hearing. I've heard of her name. I know who she is. I went and read exactly what happened because I was like, I need to understand what's going on here. This is the most, I think this is insane story. Breonna Taylor was an award-winning EMT in Louisville. a model citizen, family, community member, worked as 2 hospitals as an essential worker during the pandemic. 1 month ago, Louisville's police department performed an illegal, unannounced drug raid on her home. Not a single officer announced themselves before ramming down her door and firing 22 shots, shooting Breonna 8 times and killing her. The police were at the wrong house, but the man they were looking for had already been arrested earlier that day. This is what happened. Yeah. That is insane. Insane. And like, nothing happened. No one's been arrested. Police chief was not fired. Police chief was fired yesterday because of the other incident and now this incident. So like, think about it. You know how bad, like if you work in a normal job and you fuck up, there's a good chance you're fired. You kill people at your job and you get to keep it.
Yeah, they were apparently going to force him. They were going to ceremoniously let him retire at the end of June, and they just pushed it up because the pressure's too high. This
is part of the problem, is that that problem of like how everyone's in on the cover up, because it just exposes the whole state, right? All the officials, because everyone knows. So that fixing that problem is going to take many, many election cycles.
Right.
Because you're not going to just vote out everybody come November. You're going to vote out some people.
Yeah. Just take out the brutality of these incidents. The incentive is to keep the party going.
Yes. And so where I think the change is going to happen quicker and why it's going to happen quicker, we've been locked up for 3 months for the pandemic, right? But it's shelter at home. It's our own place. We got to go run outside. We got to go to the grocery store. We got to order our Postmates. We got to have our friends over if we wanted to. If you live in a major city in this country, it is a fucking war zone. We are locked up right now. I live in Hollywood, not far off Sunset. I could not go outside of my house because when I went outside, there was 100 police cars, Humvees, shit I've never, like shit you see on those movies when they're in fucking Afghanistan.
There was 4 helicopters over Hollywood last night.
Yes, I heard 4 them all night. My son, when I put him to sleep, he's like, "Daddy, a lot of helicopters." I mean, like this is, we've effectively chosen this path because we are not able to prosecute people that are guilty.
Think about it. Yesterday, we're recording this on a Tuesday. At Monday, Beverly Hills had a 1 p.m. curfew.
Tuesday, I think, is 1 p.m. too.
Is it 1 p.m.
as well?
What does that even mean?
1 p.m.
1 p.m.? So the city's open from 5:30 a.m. to 1 p.m.?
Yeah.
So effectively, you could be arrested then if you're seen in Beverly Hills past 1 p.m.
West Hollywood today is 4 p.m. We're recording this podcast at 2 p.m. right now on a Tuesday. All I see are police helicopters outside our window.
Yeah, and I live at the edge of West Hollywood, and my wife's like, "You need to get your ass home before 4 because you can't leave." And like, I poke my head down the street and go look just to see. And yesterday there was a protest, 2 protests, one to the east of me and one to the west of me. The one west of me was Sunset and Crescent Heights. They took over the intersection in front of Laugh Factory. Peaceful protest. It started at the Laugh Factory and then it moved to the middle of the street and took over the entire street. It quietly ended. Why? Because the police officers agreed to kneel. Simple.
I saw that. It was a great video.
Just fucking show some empathy.
That's all the protesters are expecting at this point for I'd say well over 90%.
Yes.
There's obviously bad apples that are taking advantage and trying to loot and stuff.
Yeah.
But the rest just want to know cops care.
Yeah.
That you give a shit.
Yes. And then on the east side of town, which is like Sunset Vine area, they brought the National Guard out. There was people protesting. So Pete, you walked through that protest, right?
Right.
You and that was in the Hollywood area.
Right.
And what did you see?
Hollywood and what exactly?
What was it? Hollywood. I don't even know. It just kept going all the way down. I had taken a left on your street.
Yeah.
For the first point, but they had continued down Hollywood. It went like Sunset up to Hollywood and then down Hollywood. The craziest part was that I'd come home from work and my roommate was watching it on TV and it looked like a complete war zone.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing people running into buildings, looting, robbing, doing all this stuff. And then I was just like, and I started to see where it was coming, and it's like right up the street from me. So I went up there. None of that was happening. Like at all.
Yeah.
Like at all. These people are just peacefully walking down the street, demonstrating, doing the chants, all of that. But I saw none of this looting, the rioting, the destruction. All that is being casted on television.
Yeah, and so what the news, I turn on the news, the local news, all they were focused on was a few people went into a Rite Aid on Sunset and Gower.
Yes.
That is it. All they said was heavy looting at the Rite Aid, heavy looting. And there's like 4
And
people.
then they're reporting back to it immediately. They have grounds people running over there, like news grounds people.
Yeah.
And they're being like, people have raided this, blah, blah, but you're like distracting from what's really going on.
Yeah, and then I go to Fox 11. There's a woman reporting, and she's with the liquor store owner, a black couple. The black couple's asking for the police to come and help them. The police then start arresting them. And the luckily the news reporter's there, and she's like, "What are you doing, you idiots?" She's like, "You, ma'am, you need to step away. Who are these people?" And they're like, "They own the store. They're asking for your help." Like this is
crazy.
It's so insane what's going on, and I think, all these, the looting must stop people. Please really go outside and go look. Go look and tell me the looting is going on.
Yeah, I know everyone's got 5 friends that have been affected by it.
Yeah.
Why don't you see how many people are protesting and what ground they're covering and tell me that's the story.
Yeah, and the other thing is what's interesting is especially in the LA area, the retail stores that got looted, I'm friends with a lot of those guys. And I saw all of them post the same exact thing. It doesn't matter.
Right.
We're with the cause. They don't care. Why do you care so much? They don't give a fuck. Rite Aid does not care.
I mean, so the place that got hit the hardest on Saturday and over the weekend was Fairfax.
Yeah.
Right? No question. Fairfax Melrose.
Flight Club.
Yeah, Flight Club.
All those stores. And the owners came out and said, like, we're part of the culture. If this is what it takes to affect change, then we're in. And they're the ones who are the hardest hit. So if you had that perspective as a person that's actually getting vandalized, Omar said it on the last podcast when he said in the 92 riots, his family lost a significant portion of their income. But he's like, if that was what was necessary to get the message out, then we're all for it. So like the armchair critics aren't actually in the streets and aren't even being affected by it. Yeah.
So if you're affected by it and I don't know, have perspective on it because there's a lot of people who do.
And I encourage anybody who hasn't gone out there to go out there and march.
It's not dangerous.
No. I thought it was dangerous right away. Like I felt, and then I got into it, and it's not. I felt so safe.
People have reached out to me many times over the last 5 days. Are you safe? Are you okay? Are you this? And I'm like, I'm walking around. I just went and got coffee. I just saw 50 protesters walk by me. They said hi.
Right.
What's funny is that, has there been a death in LA from the protests? I haven't heard that, right?
No.
I haven't heard of anything.
And here's
we had 120. We're approaching 120,000 dead because of Corona.
Yeah.
And we couldn't shut down the country properly, which is why the numbers. And we have protests. Sure, there's vandalism and looting going on, but it's largely peaceful and no one's dying.
Yeah.
And we have curfews at 1 and 4 p.m. We could not keep people in because of the coronavirus.
No. Like the deadliest viruses we've seen in decades. But God forbid there's black people on the streets.
Exactly. It's
horrible.
Yeah, I mean,
it's eye-opening.
And I think the scariest thing, I felt really good about after the podcast yesterday. Had a really nice conversation with my wife, and we're like, we're gonna do our part, and we're gonna keep pushing the good fight. Then I turn on the TV and I watch the president's press conference. And my blood was boiling. So those that didn't watch, please go watch it. He tries to show like an ounce of empathy about, George Floyd and the family. And then he turns on this crazy rampage of essentially saying that I'm going to instruct the states to put military on the street. We need to protect our Second Amendment. He's literally pandering to lunacy.
I don't get the Second Amendment line.
No, that was his wink to people
like you can go use your guns and kill people.
Yes, that was his wink to the
go protect and defend.
Yes, and look, in Nebraska, you can kill a black person.
Florida, Georgia, Texas.
Yeah,
states go on.
Those states are comfortable with the way they do business down there, and I think Donald Trump's press conference, like, you have to watch it because it is so, like, he's the epitome of tone deaf. He showed no empathy. Every news, I went to every channel to see what people were saying. Everyone was just disgusted.
Even Fox News was ripping them.
Fox News, not so much.
They're sorry, I take that back. They weren't ripping him, but it's the first time over an extended period of time we're seeing some people actually criticizing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't watching, but I retweeted Dan Primack from Axios right after Trump's press conference. They're talking about Hillary's emails.
Yes. And
what the fuck does Hillary's emails have to do with?
Because you got to distract. You have to constantly distract. And I think the sickest part about after he gives this speech, that is the most divisive thing I've ever seen any leader do, just angers, pretty much giving the green light for the military to go end up on our streets, which he doesn't even have the authority to.
Right.
So he wanted to, it's called the Insurrection Act of
it's in the 1800s.
Yeah. This is like, why are you talking about shit from the 1800s? Like, dude, like, that doesn't even...
that's what he enacted so that he could do his little march to the church.
Yes.
So he cleared peaceful protesters that were tear gassed between the White House and the church so that he could do a photo op with the Bible.
And so he walks across the street to the church. And I mean, this is the most comical thing. First of all, his walk is like a war-torn city that he destroyed, essentially. Walks there. He holds a Bible in front of a church, and they go, "Is that your Bible?" And he looks at it and goes, "It's a Bible." Takes pictures. And what's interesting is I saw most religious leaders, Christian leaders, find it repulsive.
Yes.
That he is exploiting Christianity at this moment. I saw other people, though, saying he's our president that allows us to reclaim God. He's allowing it. Whereas Obama looked down upon it. So you have to be a grade A fucking dummy if you get fooled by the president holding a Bible. President can't recite any Bible verses.
No,
he doesn't know anything.
They've asked him. They said, he's like, "Oh, the Bible's my favorite book."
Yes.
They go, "Great. What's your favorite verse?" I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
No, so there's a great video from CNN or CNBC, whatever. Not CNBC, MSNBC.
Yeah.
Chris Sacca just tweeted it yesterday,
right,
about him being grilled on the Bible. What's your favorite verse? Because there are a lot of verses, and they keep going. And it's clear he knows nothing about the Bible. And they say, "Are you a New Testament guy or an Old Testament guy?" He goes, "I like it equally."
Yeah.
Fun testaments on both sides.
Yeah. He doesn't know anything about Christianity. He just knows that if he just says you guys can have your guns and have your Bibles, it's all good. I mean, like, if you think this man is religious, you are a fucking dummy. Dummy.
But here's the thing. Unfortunately, and I think a majority of the people, and it's a slight majority, like 51% of the country, it's not 60, think that this is all like a shit show. Then you have, sorry, Pete, the governor of the great state of Wisconsin, tweet, "I can't imagine another president of the United States having the guts to walk out of the White House in this time." And it's an image of him walking towards a church. What are the guts? You cleared out.
Yeah, you literally
gassed your own people.
You rolled over everybody in front of you just to get out there.
I just don't understand how, like, anybody in the Republican Party can't stand up and say, I know I've met Republican people in Washington, D.C. I know people in politics that are conservatives that are not fucking stupid. They are smart. They're conservative when it comes to, like, certain on maybe gun rights and maybe religion and maybe fiscal issues, but they are not dumb. They went to Harvard. They're like smart.
Paul Ryan, perfect example.
Yeah.
He's known as like a policy wonk. Like, what that means is he's a fucking nerd and he actually understands the weeds, right? He can't stand up to Trump. He's not even in office, but like during his time, he wouldn't stand up to Trump. And privately, I've heard from multiple people that have been around him. They said the guy's got 95% of Republican approval rating of the voters. It's a suicide mission if you're Republican to go against him. The Republican voter is okay with it.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything.
They don't care.
Yeah.
95% approval rate. If politicians are the most spineless people in society. So if Republicans who are smart and actually understand, they're not all this lack of empathy. They just want to stay in office.
Yeah.
They know going against them, you're getting the Twitter web. Yeah. It's like going against Portnoy, right?
Yeah.
If you go against him, you get stuck in the web and you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
Right? If you try to pick a war with him, it's the same thing. If you're a Republican, you go after Trump.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, I just don't. It's just mind-blowing to me that no one, but even just someone with some moral high ground just say, you know what, I don't need to deal with this shit. Like, how's not one of those cabinet members, not one of his aides that just stand up, at least say, this is insane, I quit, and I'm fucking telling everyone what's going on.
There are people that have obviously left the cabinet to write their books talking about how crazy it is, but then you're irrelevant.
Yeah.
The moment you're not in off, like, it's going to take someone that's in office that has to listen to just talk shit to him, because once you're out of office, once you leave the cabinet, no one gives a fuck.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Pence is a religious guy, isn't he? He's like squares, but he's a very religious person. Like, why isn't he talking some sense and saying, don't do
He's a little puppet, dude. No one wants that Twitter smoke.
No.
Yeah.
No, literally.
Yeah.
Because he'll make fun of your wife, your dad, your uncle, your mom, your grandma.
Kids. Yeah, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. I mean, he has been nonstop still attacking everybody except solving the mega problem that's happening in this country.
Right.
Do you think in like 10 years, Republicans are going to look back like, I can't believe we just allowed this to happen?
Yeah, because
I would sure hope so.
I know they're scared in the moment and they all want to keep in power, right? Like everyone wants to keep their senatorships and your governorships, because if you go against them, you're out.
Yeah. And I think there will be a lot of regret. I think there'll be enormous amount of change in this country, and it's going to be because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump started a revolution. He's going to have more positive impact when this is all done. He woke everybody up and said, this is fucking nuts.
So the Axios reported this morning that a senior White House aide was completely ashamed of what happened yesterday. Go on the record.
Yeah. That's my point, is that nobody will go on the record.
Go on the record and let them fire you.
Yeah. And then you'll be a hero.
Yeah.
But that's what I don't understand. How is nobody stepping up to these people? Like, no one says anything ever? Like, no one says anything that's like interesting. Sure, they say, oh yeah, he watched a lot of TV in the White House. Those are what the books are saying. Like, they're not giving any information.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. So on to some pop culture news, still staying in the same lane. So if you're a fashion junkie or a streetwear head, this was the big news yesterday. Virgil Abloh, he posted on his Instagram story that he was part of some donation chain, and he donated $50 to I forgot the cause.
It was to help bail protesters out in Miami.
Okay. Virgil, if you're going to screenshot a donation, it better be a big number. This is a big no-no in social media 101. So
how much do you think Virgil makes?
So let's say 10. Let's say on the conservative side, 10 million. So he started Off-White, but he never operated it. It was a license to the New Guards Group. New Guards Group has then sold. So he's collecting a salary, maybe revenue. He's also the artistic director at Louis Vuitton. I'm sure that's a 7-figure paycheck. And then he does all his collaborations, everything.
Like DJs, that's got to be $50K a pop, right?
Oh, more.
100K?
He's probably getting more now. So let's assume he's a $10 million guy. Conservatively, 10 million. He goes out and screenshots a $50 donation. The internet destroys him.
Yep.
And there's a $50 bill now that's going around with Virgil's face on it, which I think is kind of funny. He then goes on to explain himself in an Instagram post about how he's originally from Ghana, tells about his life story and how he's always what all the kind of challenges he had to overcome. At the end of the day, Virgil, to me, he's an inspiration for what he's done. No doubt in my mind. He's mishandled this situation, unfortunately. He is a person with massive influence over young people. Massive, massive influence. And, you know, one of the things that Bobby Hundreds called out in his Instagram post, which was really well written, was we have taught hyper consumerism to our children. We've prioritized, he used the example of like Flight Club is being looted and all these stores on Fairfax, and then down the street are 10 banks and they're untouched. Literally untouched, right? Like at least destroy the bank. If you're going to destroy it, destroy a bank. Who cares about destroying a sneaker store? And so we've trained these kids to care about certain things and not care about other things. Virgil's effectively the face of that hyper consumerism. He's created, right? You can't, and the joke is you can't even buy anything Off-White for $50. And so unfortunately, another example of being tone deaf on the situation. He then goes on his Instagram post to say that he has donated $20,500. That's a lot of money. There's nothing to scoff at for that. The problem is when you know what you're charging for things and when you know what you're known for, if you're going to talk about a dollar amount, it just, unfortunately, like Drake drops an IG story dropping 100K.
Right.
I mean, Anthony dropped 50,000 yesterday.
Sterling 20,000.
No, I think more. Yeah.
I saw he was just
giving money to
the city. Sterling, who's a friend of the pod, he's been on the episode.
Yeah. And he's donating a lot of money. You know, there's other people that we know don't make Virgil money that are being very generous. Obviously, Drake's very wealthy. I'm sure he gave more than $100,000. I'm sure he's given more money to other things. But yeah, I mean, I think this is why when we talked in the beginning about corporate responsibility, you have to be very calculated about what move you make. Peloton announced a $500,000 donation.
Good for them.
Good for them. A $14 billion.
Probably need the $500,000 though.
What?
Yes, they
shouldn't be the donator.
If you're losing money left and right, I don't know if you should be donating it.
Where do you get that money? Is that monopoly money? Is that fake money?
But yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I'm really curious to see does this moment between the pandemic and the social activism on racial inequality, is this the moment where we hit a reset button on excessive consumption?
So just back to the Virgil story, I was actually pretty shocked. So I'm in a group chat with some of my best friends in San Francisco. One of them, tech founder, and has zero awareness of streetwear culture.
Yeah.
Doesn't listen to the music. That's just not what he's into.
Yeah.
He randomly puts in the chat at Dee Murthy, this Virgil guy seems like a complete clown, huh?
Yeah.
He's not even part of the culture, but it even struck him the wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be, I think he has to do something to gain everyone's trust back, because you can't be a luxury brand person. And from all accounts of everyone that works with him, they have nothing but nice things to say about him. Everyone says he's a great guy. You fumbled here.
And just as quickly as you go viral hot, which is he's the literally epitome of it.
Yeah. How
quickly he went from like a known designer within fashion to the whole world knows who he is.
Yeah.
You can go down just as quickly.
Yeah.
So, and you know, whether you want to call, I'm always the one, I don't think you have, rich people should be forced to give. I never like if Jeff Bezos gives $100,000 to a cause and then someone says, why isn't it $1 billion? I think it's a stupid comment.
Yeah.
And the same applies to like everyone. But if you're going to talk about it, knowing what your products are, then you have to have some self-awareness about tone deaf. If Virgil decided he wasn't going to donate anything and didn't want to talk about it, it's his prerogative.
Yeah. You can't join in the conversation and not come in swinging. Because the other thing he did, which I think that irritated people, was he commented on someone who has a store in Melrose and said, hey, this is why streetwear can't have anything nice, something to that effect of like, we're destroying our own culture, destroying our own community. And that person went out and said, hey, on his own Instagram, that guy said, it's Sean Witherspoon of Round 2, came out and said, I understand why this is happening. I'm with the community. He's not mad. He said, he's like, I can replace these things. I can't fix what's happening in this country. But Virgil commented on that, and like that picked up steam because like at the end of the day, it's like, don't be so obsessed with the consumerism part of this problem. That's like, let's fix the real problem, which is the racial inequality in this country. And I think Virgil unfortunately jumped on the wrong train.
Yeah, so that's 2 strikes.
Yeah.
I mean, you are literally the biggest beneficiary of this whole culture.
Yeah.
Of the last 5 years, who's benefited more than Virgil?
No, and I think I think, you know, he's got to figure out what he can do because people said, you know, I mean, the comments are not kind to him.
Well, I mean, if you think about we've talked about this all the time about the kids buying Off-White aren't rich kids.
No.
They're saving up over a 2-month period and they're dumping all their money to buy that one thing.
Yeah.
Or one collab or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And like, you're effectively pillaging poor people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not like Louis Vuitton and Gucci. It's rich people buying that shit.
Yeah.
Right? They can afford it. Whether bag's 10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That kid who's going and spending 300 for Off-White, that's just like all his savings.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, that's why I think this is like I would argue this is a PR crisis for him and he needs to figure it out and act quick because he's the face of this culture.
And so when you guys talk about a breaking point with people like this and the culture in general, where do we see that next step being taken? How can do you guys have any kind of like see into the future here in your own opinions about what this changes and like how?
I think what it changes is if the brand you purchase and wear doesn't stand for something, I don't think it's going to be the brand that you want it to be in the future. Like, I think social responsibility is going to be ingrained in our business community. And I think young people who are the ones out protesting are then going to look in their closet. They're going to look in their pantry. They're going to look in their refrigerator. They're going to look at their driveway and be like, do these brands represent me? And if they don't, they're fucking gone, straight up. Like, I don't think...
I hope you're right. I hope that sustains. I know we have this moment where that's top of mind, but, you know, unfortunately, similar to, like, the pandemic, everyone wore masks 2 weeks ago. It's a fraction of the people are wearing masks. Masks help solve the spread of germs, whether it's the flu, cold, corona, doesn't matter. Transmittable diseases are shielded by masks.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Fact. End of story.
Yeah.
There's no debating it.
Yeah.
Wear a fucking mask.
Yeah. I see a lot of protesters wearing masks. I did see a good chunk.
But so my point is the sustainable, like,
I think it's going to be a long slog. Like, I don't think, like one, this doesn't really affect Louis Vuitton at all.
Of course
because I mean, their customer doesn't care. But I think an Off-White situation or Virgil or other big companies that want to do stuff with Virgil, I think it's gonna have a mark. Look, it didn't really affect Yeezy. I mean, the people are buying his shoes left and right.
But that's different. I think it's different because Yeezy got the pass from fans because his music is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's the same reason, I mean, very different because Michael Jordan never said anything as extreme as Kanye, just as Republican buy sneakers. He has an incredible talent. So people are like, I don't care about the way he views politics back then, even though it's not even a fraction of his incendiary as what Kanye has done. What's Virgil's talent? He's a designer.
Yeah.
If people don't like you, they're not going to wear your shit.
Yeah.
It's not like music. I cannot like someone and be like, man, that song's still fucking dope.
Yeah. I mean, I still love Kanye's music. I just don't necessarily connect with him anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a big problem. And, you know, as quickly as you get hot, as quickly as you can go down. And in this time, I think it compounds. Like everyone's half-life is shorter, right? Like, so as quickly as like Snapchat became hot, it became irrelevant just as quickly.
Yeah. And
I think that's transferable across all of society.
Yeah. It's interesting.
The one thing I've noticed, and Bobby Hundreds, I think, started it, was the OG streetwear guys are disgusted by the hyper-consumerism.
Yeah.
And what they created and the people that were part of that culture 15, 20 years ago, the kids now and the customer now, it doesn't reflect their values.
No.
Are you seeing the same?
Yeah. I mean,
the real OGs.
Yeah. I mean, we were part of that scene in the early days, and that was just like for the love of the game.
And it was actually community.
Yeah.
So, the 100 had community.
Yeah.
LRG, when you wore that LRG hoodie.
It was a community.
Yeah, you felt like I'm part of something.
Yeah.
I don't think kids wearing Off-White feel like they're part of anything.
No, I mean, they feel like it's a symbol of wealth that they get to show off on social media because they know it's expensive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, I mean, that's one of the, why everyone keeps saying streetwear is dead. Streetwear was such a grassroots, like, beautiful thing, and luxury brands and all these things have come and kind of taken it away. And, different things have happened from the culture that, are other reasons why it may not be what it was. It's obviously bigger than ever. Streetwear as a genre is just massive. It impacts the entire ecosystem of consumption. But yeah, I mean, I agree. The purity of like the community and why, oh, you like this music, you like this artist, you like this, that's why we all wear this brand.
Right.
That shit is gone.
Yeah, because that was from exactly what you said. It's everything you consume is part of one culture.
Yeah.
So, what happens from here then?
It'll be new designers. There'll be people that are going to... This is like... People have said, when I said this is a revolution, people think that's an exaggeration. The 60s was a revolution. That's what happened in the 1960s. We revolted socially, economically, against wars, and it created incredible leaders, incredible music, incredible artists, incredible businesses, all came from the 60s. 60s is like such a major impact on life after the 1960s. That's what's going to happen now. We're going to create the next generation of everything. The next generation of musicians, next generation of brands, next generation of people are writing the Beatles.
Yeah, and
right now,
one thing you could take away from the protests and the age of the protesters, young people still want to be part of something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is something people are coming together and like, I'm part of something. I have bigger meaning than just going on TikTok and Instagram. So there is a huge lane from a commercial angle of brands to actually create community, and you can profit off that. That's okay.
Yeah.
But if you actually do something positive alongside, even better.
And that's where I think the social media generation was kind of forgotten in community, because social media made it feel that for brands, you just had to connect with people digitally. You've never seen this many kids in the streets.
No.
Kids are not in the streets like they were. Like when we were growing up, we went places and there were just kids everywhere.
Right.
Now there's no reason, unless you live in the suburbs, I'm sure there's movie theaters and malls and kids are hanging out. But in LA, you just don't see kids.
The people protesting is the Fortnite generation that sat cooped up in their room playing Fortnite all night.
Yeah. And now they're out. So yeah, that's why I think it's a revolution for many reasons. Politically, it'll be a revolution. I think economically, it'll be a revolution. And I think in consumption and brands and creativeness, it's going to be this whole new range of products, brands, people that are going to create meaningful things. I mean, that's like all of our brands are rooted in community. I just don't even see another way to do it. Like whether it's Menlo Club, Grand Running Club, Young and Reckless. These are all communities that have been born. And it's nice to see that. I think we're going to go back to that direction. And thoughtful conversation. Like, thoughtful conversation was not happening amongst young people.
No.
I mean, in amongst my friends and other people who have gone out and who have protested and who have joined these marches, it's that exact thing. And that's what a lot of the young people are conversing about. And people I've talked to is like this coming together, this joining it's moving beyond social media and just the digital. Being in the physical element of it is like a whole different thing, obviously. Oh, yeah. But like to feel that, I think these young kids are finally getting that, which they haven't had for so long.
My guess is the first time most of these kids have ever even felt they're part of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And something bigger than just like going, I don't know, like any of these things, like whether it's going online and going to chat rooms or things like that, like that's meaningless. But to come together for something like this, there's so much more power to it. And I think it's really hitting people a lot deeper.
Yeah, I'd say for me, the first time, whether you can agree with it or not, there was a true sense of patriotism post 9/11.
Yeah.
I was 18 years old, but you felt the country coming together like, okay, the country was under attack. Now, let's figure out what the next steps are. And even being 18, you just felt it. Yeah. Like, okay, the country now is unified in like solving it. And I remember it wasn't Republican or Democrat. It was like initially, obviously it spiraled into something totally different, but like even when Bush was standing at the rubble saying like, I hear you too, that was like a unifying moment for the country.
Absolutely.
I think they're just getting started.
I think so too.
I think they're really, really early because it's now starting to feel like I think there was a lot of commotion on social today. And I think really kickstarted a lot of people who were uncomfortable, not willing to like voice their opinions. But I think they've kind of found that, and it's just going to be a momentum roll.
Yes. And I think where, one of the things I wanted to touch on today was the protest are going to cause people to wake up way faster than they're even realizing, because there is no economic activity happening for the foreseeable future. It is done. You can't, like we said, you can't go to the grocery store. You literally can't do anything in a major city in this country after 5 o'clock.
I talked to a few restaurants that were getting ready to open up this week. Monday, they were supposed to open.
Yeah.
Boarded up.
So let me tell you, I'll give you my piece of advice. If you care about money, you should care about black people, because you will not see a fucking dime ever again if you don't start giving a fuck. Straight up.
Showing empathy, actually doing things, because the protests aren't stopping.
No, and if we don't see changes, if we don't see police being arrested, we don't see policy changes happening, these kids probably lost their job. They're probably fucked. Their careers might be derailed. They are pissed.
Yeah, they don't care.
They have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And nothing else to do.
Right. Nothing else to do. Nothing to lose. It could be months. It could go on for months if we don't do something about it.
Yeah, because everyone's work from home already, or you don't have a job. So it's one of the two. You're either working from home or you don't have a job, so you have no accountability of what you're doing all day.
Yeah.
And you see something, you're going to join.
Yeah. You're looking for purpose, and you just...
Especially these college graduates that are walking out there with nothing to go grab a hold on to.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about how much the pandemic affected young people's mental health. This is a chance to go be part of something.
Yeah.
That too, I think that definitely springboarded a lot of it, because it was like, we've been separated. We've barely gotten any interaction with one another besides small groups. And it's like springboarding into this just collective of people.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
And, now it's almost 2:30 and I hear more helicopters. I don't know what's going on out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just by the time this podcast is done, I just want
like
to go
bullets
home.
coming through this.
The other thing, I think the other challenge I see when this whole situation is that children, for the first time are being forced to deal with this racism conversation at a very young age. Look, black children deal with it as soon as probably they're born. White children don't have to deal with it. And Nickelodeon aired a 8-minute 46-second PSA in the wake of George Floyd's death on Monday, just to pay the respect. And it's the conversation as a parent you need to start having with your children so they understand it. Because the thing that irritates me the most is when everyone says the rioters, the looters. Who the fuck is rioting? There's like fucking 100 people rioting.
Right.
There's millions of people protesting.
Peacefully.
But we are labeling everything as the rioters, the looters, the rioters, the looters. I mean, how many thousands of people are just peacefully walking down the street? And so these children now hear, oh my God, I can't go outside my house. Everyone's rioting, looting. So bravo to Nickelodeon to going out on a limb and start educating these kids. Couple women were pretty pissed off. A particular mom goes on social media, posted the clip of the ad. Okay, I'm pissed. Why is this shit just popping up on Nickelodeon while my kid is watching a show? My 8-year-old is scared to death. Fuck you, media. Fuck you. You are done, she wrote, adding the hashtags QArmy, QAnon. So your poor 8-year-old had to see a scary ad. Oh, fucking no. Do you know what an 8-year-old black kid has to go through?
Exactly.
So what are you talking about?
So stupid.
These are these people just so out of touch with reality.
No, and this is what's going to happen in this country. There's going to be a ton of people that realize what's going on and make changes in their life. The rest are going to be driven out of society. And it's a fucking harsh thing to say, but they will not be welcome.
So I'm really curious, especially in our neighborhoods, or not our neighborhoods, but if you go to where the wealthier neighborhoods, Brentwood, Beverly Hills, and those communities, I don't know if they agree with us.
So, agree in the change is coming?
I think the Beverly Hills, Brentwood crowd, I hate to stereotype, is the looter protest, the looters and rioters.
100%.
Right?
They are that person. Well, my point being is, if you don't accept the changes that are coming, you will slowly be driven out. You will not be included in the conversation in anything, and your businesses will be exposed. Your relationships will be exposed. I mean, I guarantee you, there's a lot of people cutting off a lot of friends, a lot of family members, a lot of this that's going on, and you know what? They'll be like, sorry. We're going on with our life. You're not part of it anymore. And so at that point, you have to make a decision. I'm going to evolve and change, even if I don't agree with it, but I have to evolve and change because it's the only way for my inclusion. Or it'll have to be I'm just not going to, I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to live in LA. Like, if you don't like gay people, you shouldn't live in West Hollywood.
Fuck no, you shouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong place.
I mean,
So
if you don't like diversity, you shouldn't be in LA.
No. And so I think that's what's going to happen is that, and it's going to be tougher for other parts of the country, which aren't as diverse and which aren't as open-minded. But I think it's going to force people's hand. And I'm dying for election day to come. I want to see what happens. We all know election day is going to come. It's coming down to 5 states, right? It's your Wisconsin, your Michigan, your Ohio, your Pennsylvania, your Florida. Like, these are the states that need to flip for Joe Biden to become president. I want to know, in those states, are people going to fucking show up?
Donald Trump will do everything in his power to suppress the vote. That's why mail-in ballot is such a controversial topic.
Yeah.
Making it easier for people to vote lowers turnout. Yeah. He wins with lower turnout.
Let's just say he wins that battle on mail-in, and you got to go stand in line. I'm curious to see. You're willing to protest. It's a lot easier to vote than protest. It's very easy to vote.
I know, but I'll tell you, it's a lot more frustrating to stand in line. So the
I was
primaries.
Say, you think it's easier to?
I think it's easier to jump on third for 20 minutes and pop your phone out and start capturing some good footage to post. But hey, during primary season, I had to go wait in line. I waited 3 hours to make my vote. I'm 36. I understand the importance of voting. Does a 25-year-old who's forced to wait 3 hours, they're going to say, screw this, I'm out.
Yeah.
And the 3 hours is a primary. It's going to be 5 for the main.
Oh, yeah. Is there early voting in
No, they're
presidential?
going to do that. I think they're gearing up. So 2 weeks leading up, you can start.
So when that happens, I think we really need to make a push.
Exactly.
To make
you have to get people
early
to
voted in the primaries.
I was a dummy. I went on the day of. I didn't realize it's going to be.
Don't be an idiot. Vote early.
But think about it, most people are going to be like election November 3rd,
Right.
and they're going to think about it like I don't know.
On the second they're like, oh shit, I gotta go vote, and then you're gonna go stand in line and can't I don't want to leave work.
I saw people in line saying like, I gotta go pick up my kids on the phone with their spouse or whoever, and they had to leave.
Yeah,
because 3 hours is a long time.
Yeah.
Right. But I think something like this happened at the right time where we could get that push, I think, all the way through, or at least have a heavier push towards getting people out to vote, to getting the voice out, to getting people to hear it.
You need to keep your voter registration in Wisconsin.
Yeah, we'll pay for your flight to go vote. Jesus.
Your vote is extremely important. Your vote is worth 10 of ours.
It's true.
Let's see here. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to, instead of running an ad, because this isn't the time to monetize what's going on, Pete is going to share with us some of the places you can donate and support.
Right. So on our Instagram, you can find all these links. I'm going to have them saved into our saved stories on the top of our profile. So you can go there and find these at all times. But we've got hit up with a number of links. One of the bigger ones is Black Lives Matters. .carrd.co/. That's in our bio. That's for all information you can find of how to support Black Lives Matter, where you can donate with verified donation sources, education, and more. So you can go find out everything there. Included are also other local a link with other local places that you can get involved, whether it's purchasing things from Black-owned businesses and anything of that nature in your area. So go ahead and over to our profile on Instagram. We're tweeting a lot of them out as well. So any of our socials, you'll be able to find them there. And then be sure to share them. Share them with everybody you know, just so we can get the word out and people know where to get the information.
Amazing. Good work, Pete. On to some interesting business news. So companies need to step up. One of the companies that, has probably taken a lot of money and probably hasn't treated Black people fairly for a very long time, Bank of America. Bank of America is donating $1 billion over the next 4 years to community programs. While I really, really like and commend that they're doing this, the thing that they actually need to do is lend to small and minority-owned businesses. Lending can solve so much inequality in this country. These guys are sitting on so much cash. Do you know how much Bank of America did $27 billion in 2019?
Yeah, I mean, it's the similar way PPP money is forgivable under certain terms.
Yeah.
We have to lend to different socioeconomic backgrounds.
Yeah.
And I actually think this needs to be all races, not just minorities, right? Because why did Donald Trump get elected? Because a bunch of poor white people got fed up with the system.
Yeah.
So it's a structural problem.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be forgivable loans for people that haven't participated.
Yeah. It's the same way they have like opportunities.
And give it some restrictions. I don't know. I mean, we're just going off the cuff here, but you have to invest in a business. It goes towards a business. Like, no, you can't just go spend it on
shopping or whatever. Or you make it a crime. If you do that, you go to jail. Yeah. Cool. If you invest in your business and you do whatever, and if you do it right, it becomes forgivable. If not, it becomes a long-term loan that these companies can each bank can dole out billions of dollars and not. They spent $34 billion on stock repurchases last year. Bank of America, $34 billion. You can give out $5.
What do you think they're afraid of? Why don't you do this? You would be a savior.
Because if you look at historically...
You never were required to.
You're not required to. And if you look at like old school, like investigative reporting, a Black person would walk into a bank, a white person with the same exact credential, the white person would get the loan, the Black person wouldn't.
Right. And
the idea was to oppress a group of people. Right.
That's the structural racism that has compounded the inequality among minorities versus white people.
Yeah.
What was the biggest wealth creation in the last 40 years?
Owning a home.
Yes.
And guess what? It was impossible for a Black person to get a home loan.
Yes.
They made it impossible because they didn't want you to have the American dream. That's what institutional racism, where, someone who's middle class, they own their home, appreciates in value. They get to take a loan out. They get to go on nice vacations.
Or they could reinvest it to something else.
Reinvest in stocks. Yeah. They send their kids to the best schools. And
the cycle continues.
Yes, and that's the problem. This is why banks have to be put under enormous amount of pressure in the coming years. And you have to say, $1 billion? That's nice, but you gotta give $5 billion. And each of you gotta give $5 billion. And it just has to go.
That's what's cool about some of these new fintech companies that have taken the world by storm, like a Robinhood.
Yeah.
Fractional shares.
Yeah.
That's game changing.
Yeah.
How many people can afford one Amazon share? Not a lot.
No.
But if they want to put $200 towards an Amazon share, they're able to do that.
And you still get to participate in a return.
Yeah, and if Amazon doubles, that 200 is 400. I mean, that's how you grow wealth, compounding.
Yeah.
Fucking interest.
Yes. And unfortunately, enormous amount of the population has not allowed to be participated in.
Yeah.
So
the National Guard just kneeled with the folks on Sunset.
Simple.
That's all it takes.
Show some fucking empathy. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
The other big business news, and I think this is just really the beginning of arguably the only person worse than Donald Trump is Mark Zuckerberg. Donald Trump is an evil person and it has bad intentions. Mark Zuckerberg controls the flow of information, knows his power, is extremely smart, and is refusing to play ball. He went and had a town hall with his employees yesterday. Employees are staging a walkout. I don't know of what.
Virtual walkout because they're all work from home.
Yeah. So
not showing up to their Zoom meetings.
Yeah, so everyone at Facebook's not showing up to Zoom meetings. It's cute, but you got to do a little bit more. Couple engineers actually quit and said, I just don't want to be a part of this company anymore. But he also had a phone call with civil rights leaders, and they were floored at what they heard from Mark Zuckerberg and says he has no comprehension, no understanding of what's going on. The Facebook revolt is equally as important as the political, racial inequality issue that we're having in this country, because they are literally manipulating people all day, every day.
Yeah. The whole bullshit, don't get fooled by the arbiter of truth nonsense that Zuckerberg keeps saying. They are the arbiter of truth via their algorithm.
Yeah.
Like, let's not confuse it. Just because there's not one guy saying this post is right, this post is wrong, they're feeding you information that's more likely clickbaity, which is more sensational, which might be fake news.
If CNN and Fox News had engineers to build an algorithm to show news that you should see, it would get to them. They would do it all day.
They're guessing, and they're just like, let's just show people looting the van store over and over again. Why do you think whenever a situation like this is happening, that it's just one scene,
one image,
over and over, because they know clickbait, sensation, get it, go. They're just not as sophisticated as Facebook. Yeah. Because what Facebook can do is, you like the burning of the store, let's show you a burning of a different store and 10 different stores.
All over the world, burning of stores. I mean, Facebook employees don't realize how much power they have. Facebook employees can actually change the fucking world. You know how like there's a guy standing in the corner like, how do I change the world? Let me tell you something. You work at Facebook, you can actually change the world. You guys have the most amount of power globally. There's nothing more powerful than what Facebook does.
Yeah, what about Sheryl Sandberg?
Jeez. Ghost.
So the only argument of people that like truly believe what Mark Zuckerberg is saying are libertarians. Neither of them are true libertarians. Yeah. Right? Libertarians are like, there should be no rules. Yeah. There should be no gatekeepers. Yeah. Everyone does what they want.
Yeah, anarchy.
It's not anarchy, but they have this view that they aren't libertarians. No. They're like phony libertarians that they choose when it's okay to be a libertarian. They choose when it's okay to donate to a political party. Like a libertarian would never donate to either party. No.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge with Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg has all power. The only thing that he can't control are his people. His people can leave. His people can say, we're not doing this anymore. Problem is their stock's at all time goddamn high. And if you're vesting stock, you're walking away from millions of dollars. So it's like the moral code we're asking Facebook employees to hold themselves to is hard.
The board can step in.
Does the board have, the board are his puppets.
I know he has all the voting shares, but if you see an exodus of all the people on the board of Facebook do not need to be on the board of Facebook to stay rich. Yeah. Right? They probably may get a $300,000-$400,000 a year, maybe get some shares that's completely irrelevant to their wealth.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's see who's on the board of Facebook. Okay, board of directors. Mark Zuckerberg. Sheryl Sandberg. Peggy Alfred. She's served as executive VP at PayPal. Cool, Peggy. We keep an eye on you. Mark Andreessen. We know where you're at. Andrew Houston of Dropbox. We know where you're at. Mm-hmm. Nancy Killefer. She is a partner at McKinsey. Robert
she doesn't care.
Kimmett.
She's at McKinsey.
Robert Kimmett, international counsel as a lawyer, so probably not. Peter Thiel.
Good luck, libertarian.
Yeah. Tracy Travis. She was CFO at Estee Lauder.
She should care.
She should care. So really, we have Tracy. We have
I think Drew Houston.
Drew Houston may have a soul. Mark Andreessen, I feel like cares.
Mark Andreessen cares. He wrote the nice "Let's Build."
Peggy Alfred's also used the CFO of the Chan Zuckerberg initiative, so no chance.
Yeah, he's in the pocket, so that he controls the board. But hey, if Mark Andreessen leaves the board of Facebook because he feels strongly about this, that's a big deal.
I think he just won't. It's Mark Zuckerberg, it's Facebook. He knows he has to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, similar to what happened in the Winklevoss, if Facebook is not a potential acquirer of your business, you're completely irrelevant. And Andreessen Horowitz invests in a lot of business that Facebook they may need Facebook, or for whatever reason.
They're too attached to the hip. Nothing's changing there. It's the employees. It's literally the employees. Employees need to say, we're done. We're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
If everyone, to me, Facebook employees are the most critical people at this moment in time right now to help push some sort of change.
You lose that pet insurance. You lose a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of perks
they just gave you for that desk. And then I'll leave on a really, really interesting note. So I follow what's happening on Amazon really closely. The last couple months, it's been masks, hand sanitizer, all cleansing goods. Number one thing on Amazon right now, pepper sales are pepper spray sales are soaring on Amazon. This is how quickly Amazon is a great gauge. They publicly post their top 100 sellers. You can really gauge the consumer mindset, or like the country's mindset, based on what is selling on Amazon. Like, you see pepper spray, you get it. People are afraid. They're going to go, like, I'm sure gun sales just through the roof. All those things are happening. But pepper sprays, like, instantly, like when I saw puzzles were top 10 for a week on Amazon when the quarantine happened, because everyone was just bored.
Amanda got a puzzle.
Yeah, you got a puzzle. So it's like, you see, it's an amazing, like, if you really want to know what the country's thinking about, go look at the top 100 things selling on Amazon.
We're the 110 million Prime members.
Exactly.
That's the country.
It's better than any poll you could do. This literally tells you the behavior and thought process of the people. Pepper spray. So my guess is it's protesters taking pepper spray to have some sort of, or is it the average Joe walking down the street thinking a black person's going to beat them up?
Probably both.
Yeah. They both need pepper spray.
And just before we leave, I think also what we need to realize about these protests, sure, the headline is racial inequality. There's also just inequality, period. Yeah. And people are fed up.
Yeah.
From wealth inequality, racial inequality. That's why it's so diverse. It's the establishment needs to fucking start to listen.
Yes.
That's what the protest is. It's a cry for help from the youth of this country. Yeah. I don't get how anyone cannot realize that.
I was watching, there was like a standoff in Riverside yesterday that was showing on the news, and they interviewed the kid. He's like, I think it was like a gay Mexican kid. And he was like, this is insane. He was so pissed. And I think he's a perfect example of, like, there's kids all over the country that feel this way.
Yeah, because George Floyd, the cop murdering him, and the three watching is a microcosm of how the youth feels the country is against them. The deck is stacked against them. Yeah. Whether it's Wells Fargo, dirty money, whether it's the way corporations take advantage of them, it's everything.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that's happened in the last 6 months, and we've talked about this, is people have lost faith in government and institutions in general, right? Like, the pandemic was the first real, like, oh my God, we aren't what we thought we were. We are not ready for a global crisis.
No.
We're one of the most poorly equipped countries on earth to handle a pandemic. Then all of a sudden we react too late. People get sick. 100,000 people die. We have to shut down the country, and people don't understand why. We don't do a good job of explaining to people what's going on. We pass a shitty stimulus bill that helps the stock market go up, and nothing for the average people. Like, I mean, Donald Trump's only hope is start chucking out $6,000 a month checks to everyone to keep people happy.
Yeah.
Because right now, That shit, like, when I saw it in Washington, D.C., there's a crazy image of Washington, D.C. burning to the ground. There's fires at every corner. People are pissed. That is what a revolution looks like. This is not an exaggeration. It is happening.
This is, I'm telling you, I wish we talked about this top of the episode because it just hit my head here. This is bigger than what everyone thinks. It's just one
it's
incident.
not about George Floyd now. This is the beginning. George Floyd exposed what everyone was going through, which is fucking inequality.
Yeah.
And this is, it is, if we don't act quickly, it's going to affect generations, the problems that are going to be caused because of what's happening on the streets. Yep. You need to care. You need to make an effort to care. Even if you're a racist, you should care because it'll affect your life.
Yep.
Wow. That's a statement.
Yeah. I mean,
it's true.
Even racists care about money. Your money's gone.
Can't make money when your restaurant's closed.
You can't make money. No one's consuming. People are probably playing golf in Newport Beach, but that's it.
Yeah, Newport's probably safe.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's it, guys.
Yeah. So go out, donate, be a part of the movement, help in some way. I think that's a big thing on social today was the whole blackout thing. But it's about more than that. You have to go out and do something. Be a part of something. Don't just post. Really actively donate, be a part, march. Do something else other than post.
Yeah, if you don't feel comfortable protesting because of coronavirus that everyone forgot about, give $5.
Literally anything. Just don't sit there and act like you care.
Yeah, I think it's very important that people really step up right now.
Yeah, especially white people.
Thank you.
Literally.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, it's for our own benefit.
Yes.
If we make humanity a better place and our country a better place, we all benefit.
Yes.
It's so simple.
Yes.
Like, why don't you want people to be treated fairly? If everyone's treated fairly, you will financially benefit. You will make more money. You will get to go back to your bars. You'll go back to bottomless mimosas. You'll get to go back to cruises.
No.
You'll go back to whatever you want if you just have a little empathy.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do it.
We'll see.
We'll be here for the ride.
Yeah. See you guys Friday.